Hey YouTube. Okay, so I want to talk to you about traveling internationally with guide dogs. That's something that I commonly get asked about because I have been to England a number of times for studying. And I'm not going to go too much into depth about the actual paperwork requirements, and that's because with the whole Brexit thing, it might change and everything I might tell you could very well be obsolete. Your best protocol specifically for England is going to be animal reception at Heathrow Airport, and they're going to be able to tell you what to need to do. What I will tell you is as soon as you know that you are going to England, you need to get on it. England is rabies free, and they are very, very particular about what they want from you. You will have to get a pre-approval letter that allows you on the plane. It will not allow you into the country. It will not allow you to get past getting off the plane. They will still need to see your actual paperwork. But to just get on the plane, you, at least right now, do need a pre-approval letter. You're gonna have to work with your vet. Your vet is gonna have to be USDA licensed to be able to do the paperwork. Not all vets are. So once you find out, get everything started now. Going into the actual mainland Europe isn't as bad, but check any kind of laws, anything like that. Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, they're all also rabies free. They all have a lot of paperwork to get into, so just make sure to do that ASAP, as soon as you possibly can. As far as the actual travel, yes, the dog gets to lay down at the bottom of my feet. I am very mindful about how much food and water I feed, because to go to the UK, it's 9 hours from here. That's the actual flight, plus getting to the airport, plus going through customs when I get there. So it might be 12 or 13 hours before my dog can use the restroom. Now, I will be honest with you, Connie, we did that trip many times. There were times that she had an accident because, going through customs, I got delayed, whatever it took. Once it took 2.5 hours. It was a mess. I always make sure that I have the appropriate things to clean up at the airport, should that happen. That's not something I was going to punish my dog for, because it wasn't her fault. I think we were flying from Indiana to Chicago, so we had a layover at Chicago, then Chicago to England to London. Now that I'm in Texas, I can just do a direct flight. It had been 13 hours, and I had given her a chance to try to go at O'Hare. She wouldn't go. It happens. A lot of people are concerned, how are the flight attendants going to act? Are they okay? So far, every flight I've been on, they have been more than accommodating, more than happy to have a dog on board. Lots of them have dogs they've had to leave at home. That is the one time, we're on a plane, that is the one time I take her harness off. It's more comfortable for one. I take Epix off now. It's more comfortable for him too. And, I do allow the flight attendants and stuff to pet the dog or whatever. That doesn't bother me. That's, of course, your choice. But I find that it makes them really appreciative, and it's not like I'm going to be up and down walking on the plane. I always make sure to pack the mud mat that I got from the Seeing Eye, or a blanket. That's just personal preference for me. Plus, I bring a bone. I do bring a few days of food on my on a carry-on, just in case anything should happen to my luggage. I do not want to have to be freaking out. If it's somewhere I've gone before, I'll have a friend or whoever pick up dog food for me. I've done that before too, just to make double sure that everything's there and ready. Going through the security with a dog, it's always slightly different. Every airport has their own thing, so that's something that you're just gonna have to find out, when you get there. I will say I have had some TSA staff scared of patting down the dog, which is always kind of interesting. You know, just remain cool, remain confident. It'll be okay. Make sure that you keep any paperwork for your dog on you. Do not pack it. Make sure it's on your carry-on. I always bring all my vet records. I'm not sure that that's completely necessary, but I'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared. So, I mean, anything that they can possibly need, I bring copies. If you do have any questions about any paperwork, do not be afraid to call the governing body. Ask, find out. You do not want to get into a situation where your dog is quarantined and you have to pay for that. That's just not a fun situation. So please, 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 please make sure to do your research before you go anywhere. And also, if you're flying domestically now in America with a service dog, make sure to check with the airlines about their regulations, because all of that's changing. Again, I'm not going to go too much into that because we're really in a flex, and I'm not sure what's going to stick, and I'm sure what's not going to stick. So, you know, give yourself time. Do not try to do everything last minute. I know it's tempting. I know it's not fair. I know that you want to just be able to jump on a plane and go just like anybody else. Unfortunately, that's one of the downsides to having a service dog. You just sometimes can't do that. And honestly, for somewhere like the UK, because it is such a pain in the ass, if you're only going for the UK for like a weekend, or 3 or 4 days, or maybe even a week, you might really want to consider if it's worth it, depending on the nature of your disability, depending on if you can have a service human help you out. I'm just saying I would be realistic about it, but that's only because I've done it 4 or 5 times, and I just find it to be the biggest pain in the ass imaginable. But that's, you know, completely your choice, obviously. People will sometimes ask, well, what does your dog do on the plane? Is your dog okay on the plane? I mean, Connie slept, Epic slept, other guide dogs that I've traveled with, other dog guides I've traveled with have slept. I will say, if your dog has never been on a flight before, if you can, I know it's not always possible, but try to do like a 30 or 45 minute flight before you commit yourself to the whole 8 hours or whatever. There have been dogs that flying was not their thing, and you'd really rather know that. And I know that that's not always possible or practical, but if you can do it, definitely consider doing it. And, you know, use some common sense. If your dog, if you think your dog might have issues in the cabin of the plane, then act accordingly. That's really all I can say on that matter. So, if you have any specific questions about traveling internationally with a dog guide, check the laws of the country that you're going to in terms of what access rights you have with your service dog. See if there are see if there's anything you need to know specifically. Again, I'm pretty lucky. I went to the UK. I had very few access issues. The only access issues I really had was because I'm working my second shepherd, and shepherds are a lot less common there as guide dogs. That did confuse people, but I explained we were from America. He's a seeing eye dog. Yeah, we were okay. So definitely find out. And that's going to be country dependent. If you can, you might consider either talking to blindness advocacy organizations or service dog organizations in said countries. Shoot them a quick email. Hey, is there anything I need to know? If you know people, from those countries, hey, is there anything I need to know? culturally, you might need to know things about dogs in certain countries that you visit. You also might need to know, England, for example, they are a lot bigger on allowing dogs into pubs and into places like that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that you're going to want to be aware of. You're going to want to be aware, for example, London is a very dog-friendly city. Lots of people have dogs. Lots of people take their dogs to outdoor cafes. In my experience, 98% of the dogs were very well behaved. We had no issues. Dogs there are allowed on the tube. That's something that you might need to be aware of. So, culturally find out. Do more people bring their dog places? Are dogs not seen as pets? What cultural issues might you have? My other main recommendation is make sure that you know where there is a vet and emergency vet. I don't want to be doom and gloom. I don't want to scare you. But stuff happens. And you want to know where there is a vet, by where you're staying, in case, heaven forbid, something should happen with your dog while you're there. Look into, if you're going to be there an extended period, look into dog food that they have there. Be sure to bring, if your dog has a sensitive stomach, be sure to bring food to do a switchover if you need to. Be aware that, like Eukanuba in the UK, while it's called Eukanuba, it smells different, it tastes different. Connie didn't like it. She loved the Eukanuba here. So, different foods made in different plants, your dog might react differently to them. So just bear that in mind. So if you have any questions about traveling internationally with guide dogs or domestically, by all means, feel free to shoot me an email. My email is blyndd1@gmail.com.